Hi, welcome to my board game channel, Will of the Meeple. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Cascadia by Flat Out Games. In Cascadia, players play against each other to build the most diverse environment using the habitat and wildlife tokens they draft. With 5 different habitats and 5 different wildlife species, players must build a mosaic of tiles to score the most points. Let's set up the game. First of all, deal the habitat tiles into piles. There should be 20 tiles per player, plus 3, so a 2-player game will be 43 tiles, a 3-player game will be 63, and a 4-player game will be 83. Place all 100 wildlife tokens into the cloth bag and give it a shake to mix them up. Place the nature tokens in reach of all players, and then randomly deal 1 starting habitat tile to each player. Now, select 1 wildlife scoring card for each of the 5 different types of wildlife. For a beginner's game, it is recommended selecting the A cards. Place them in view of each player. Now, turn over 4 of the habitat tiles and draw 1 wildlife token for each, placing it adjacent to the habitat tile. It does not matter which pile you draw the habitat tile from. Now we can start the game. The aim of the game is to place habitat tiles and wildlife tokens in the best position for scoring. First of all, we'll cover the habitat tiles. These can be placed anywhere in your area as long as one side is touching an existing tile. When placing the tile, however, you should try and match the types of habitat, because when it comes to scoring, you will get 1 point for each tile that is part of the biggest area of that specific habitat. So if we look at this example, we have 4 forest tiles touching. That will mean forest tiles will score you 4 points, as this is the biggest area of that type. Now let's look at wildlife tokens. These can be placed on any tile that has a matching species. It does not have to be placed on the tile you have just drafted. The idea is to place the tokens to match the requirements of the scoring card. Let's look at the 5 cards we have drawn. The first card is Red-tailed Hawk. This scores for each hawk that is not adjacent to any other hawk. The second card is the Grizzly Bear. Scores for number of pairs of bears with no other bears next to them. The third card is the Roosevelt Elk. Scores per straight line of elk. Each elk may only score for a single line. And as you can see, the more elk you have in a line, the more points you get. Next is the Red Fox. Scores for each fox, number of unique adjacent animals types. Foxes included. So it's 1 point for each adjacent animal type. Finally, the Chinook Salmon. Scores for each run per salmon. Runs may not be adjacent to each other. So for 1 salmon on its own it's 2 points, for 2 salmon 5 points, a run of 3 is 8 points, a run of 4 is 12 points, a run of 5 16 points, a run of 6 is 20, and 7 or more is 25 points. So as you can see, salmon are quite powerful. So in your turn you will draft 1 tile and the adjacent token. Place the tile in your area, then place the token in the position that will score you the most points. Then, draw a new tile and new token to replace the one you have just used. It does not matter which stack you draw this from. And that's it. Each player will take 20 turns and then it is game over. These are nature tokens, and you should take one of these every time you place a token on a keystone tile, which are the tiles with a small white arrow. These tokens can be used to do one of 2 things. Firstly, when you draft a tile and a token, you may take a token that is not adjacent to the tile you took. You may take any. Secondly, you can spend a nature token to discard any number of wildlife tokens and replace them with new ones out of the bag. One other rule, if all 4 wildlife tokens are the same, you should draw 4 new ones, then place the old ones back into the bag. If any 3 of the tokens are the same, the active player may choose to replace these with 3 new ones from the bag. Let's look at the scoring. The first row is for the initial of the player. The next 5 rows are for each species of wildlife, so based on the scoring conditions on the card that was selected, work out how many points you have for each species. The next 5 are for the different types of habitat. Remember, it's the biggest area of each type that scores, and it's 1 point per tile. On top of this, the person with the biggest area of each type gain additional points. In a 2-player game, the person with the largest area of each type gets an additional 2 points, and if it's a draw, it's 1 point each. In a 3 or 4-player game, the person with the biggest area gets 3 points and the runner-up gets 1. Or if it's a draw, then it's 2 points each and no points for second. These points go into this area of the scoring card. Finally, it's 1 point for each nature token left over. And that's it! Add up your scores from each section, and the person with the most points wins. So, final thoughts of Cascadia. I played this at Games Night last week, and I have to say it's really easy to learn, but also a really enjoyable game. I found the concept similar to that of Kingdom Builder, but with a bit more to it, and the contents are great quality and look amazing. The game also includes a solo mode and a family mode, which I didn't cover in this video, but are covered in the rulebook. Well, that's about it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, subscribe below to keep up to date with any future tutorials. Bye for now.